participating and making time again. And so, Tachi Delhi to everyone. Okay, thank you. Again, now we continue to talk about the teachings of the gracious teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni. And then in the context, or within the frame of the Jigdral, which is the heart advice to the fortunate ones. That's what we've been continually discussing and reflecting our understanding, memories of the past to these practices. And so, again, for that reason, we should re-strengthen our beautiful motivation, or re-strengthening, reactivating our beautiful attitude, or motivation, which is so important. And not just say important, if we like to really to progress in the Dharma, in the spiritual Dharma, that's the only way. We have to activate the motivation. Because motivation is the foundation. Motivation is the key. Attitude is the foundation. Attitude is the key. Wherever we like to turn, if we like to turn Dharma as beautiful Dharma, that is the attitude and the motivation. If we like to get Dharma as kind of casual, normal, insignificant, that is again motivation and attitude. If we like to turn Dharma completely opposite of the Dharma, more kind of like samsara, emotion, then again is the attitude and the motivation. So therefore, this motivation and the attitude, what I'm using attitude to, it is really the source, the root, the cause to bring the power and the benefit whichever direction we like to move, we like to go. That direction and that the key is in no one else's hand except one's own self. And therefore, since we are love to ourselves, each of us love ourselves and like to help to the other family and friends, then that motivation and attitude, we should activate it. That is really key. So therefore, this motivation is so important. At this time, among all the motivations we have been discussing and talking to you and reminding to you and me, myself, is the joy and the appreciations. And being graceful, grateful. All that is what really started this motivation. Our joy and appreciations to our life, our situation, circumstances. If I use more simple terminology or more kind of according Dharma teaching, 18 endowments that we have. Every living human beings all don't have 18 endowments, but we have. It is not just a kind of sudden, what's called insignificant, casual. It is really so precious and important. And then we have the Dharma. Dharma, we have the instructions. Dharma. That is so important, so precious. And then we have the beautiful foundations, such as Buddha nature. We all, so in a way, we all, not just in a way, we are ready. All the conditions, the favorable condition, every aspect, every direction is geared up in our favor. Right now, right this time. Therefore, it's so important to activate, glorify that beautiful situation, circumstance. So it's not kind of like dissipated, fading away. The activated, renewed, refreshing. With that, again, the bodhicitta, kindness, compassion, thought for all living beings, for ourselves, for other beings. And we like to reach enlightenment or become Buddha, like to reach nirvana or enlightenment, compassion is the key. Bodhicitta is again so important. It is really the practices. That is bodhicitta is ultimately is Buddha, enlightenment. So therefore, we activate Buddha right now. Now, not kind of waiting in the long term in the future. If we have that attitude or that thought, we're making mistakes. Right now, we are in that light. We are in that path, dawn, light. We are really activating that again. Feel compassion, loving kindness, as you all know. We discussed it so many times, you already know those things. Things that activating compassion for all living beings. Then, together with these, purity realizations. And in Vajrayana teaching, 3 Vajra status, or 3 Kaya status, those realizations bring up reality level, everything is in like the status. That's what in the teaching said. We don't see right now because due to the cataracts of our dualities. That duality cataracts, the moment it dissipates or taken out, the enlightenment is right here. Right here. Not just partially enlightenment. Whole thing. Form, song, space, and mind. All are enlightened status or Buddha status. That means what? All is mandala of loving kindness, compassion, wisdom. That is really is all. So therefore, also activating that motivation, at least kind of opening the door of that realization right now is so important, so special in the teaching said. It is skillful means of practices. Skillful means we're using special techniques to discover quick realizations. With this, then we go now with the, again, 3 frames what we have discussed. Or as Great Master Lungkimpa and all the Great Masters said, one echoes from the Buddha's time and to Great Master Lungkimpa and then continued. Every teacher, every great practitioner mentioned about the 3 nobilities. 3 which nobles I translated. Beginning noble, middle noble, and concluding nobles. That is very important. And again, this is nothing but first noble is our motivation, what I've been discussing. About that, what we are doing, refuge in the body, refuge in the devotions. That is really what first nobility is. Refuge. Refuge is trust, confidence. Trust to yourself, trust to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, trust to the spiritual practices. That is really the simple dawn to the, if we bring the essential meaning, that is refuge, trust, confidence. And then with that, the devotions, with joy and appreciation, richness, abundance of riches, really feel that, activated that, with that great joy and rich and blessings in all the connections and the favorable circumstances. Feel happy. It's blessings, truly is blessings. Blessings from the lineage masters, blessings from the Buddha, blessings from the Guru Padma Samye. Any blessings, all the different situations, in the different ways. Blessings all are coming to our direction in your favor. How wonderful, how beautiful. At the same time, have the courage and commitment. We're going to use this for the right purpose, beautiful purpose to bring, actualize, to really bring the fruition of this nature. Feel that. That is big and noble. With that big and noble, then we begin the practices. We begin the practices such as in this time we're talking about 6 paramatas. 6 paramata is essential teaching and practice of the entire teaching of the Buddha Shakyamunis. And this is the practice of all the great masters who become the great master by practicing the 6 paramatas. This is what. And therefore, in the monastery, in the teaching said, the 6 paramata is the great highway that all the Buddhas and all the enlightenment went on this highway and reached the enlightenment. And all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas now, they are traveling, they are advancing on this path. And all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the future will joining with this path and moving forward with this. So this is the great one way that leads to the total enlightenment, total fulfillment, total satisfactions. There is nothing else more than this. For that reason, six paramata is the essence, condensed, more practice, entire teaching of the Buddha Shakyamuni. For 45 years, over 45 years, Buddha gave the teaching. When he reached enlightenment, age 35. That all combined in these beautiful six paramatas. So therefore, we are touching to these treasures, this beautiful, really beautiful, that this path is peaceful, this path is appreciation, this six paramata is appreciation practices, kindness practices, compassion practices, harmony practices, loving kindness practices, respect and appreciation to all living beings without any discriminations. It is the practice of courage and commitment, joyful effort to the virtues for the good reasons, good purposes. Good purpose for myself, good purpose for all the beings. It is a practice of the selfishness practices. This is, therefore, it is the great practices. Great, really, the spiritual. And we bundle up with that, truly we become the warriors, as in the teaching always. Well, warrior to the enlightenment. Bodhisattva means courageous ones or the warriors to the enlightenment. Why? Because of six paramatas. That is this. So we've been talking, we've been kind of following with again in the light of His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche or Chapter Dudjom Rinpoche, other great masters. We've been discussing that for a while, and now again we continue to talk with the sixth paramatas. Sixth paramata is the wisdom paramatas. We've been discussing that this last times too, so I'm not going to talk more that. But however, the wisdom paramata is the supreme paramatas. We thought because of having the wisdom paramata, all the paramata counts. That means all the first five paramata become the paramatas. We go beyond the shores or transcendental. It makes transcendentals beyond that. And if that means, because of wisdom paramata makes the generous paramata or the transcendental practices. Generous become the transcendental or dana paramatas and shila paramatas and chant paramatas and as well as briya paramatas and concentration paramata or dhyana paramatas because of the wisdoms. Wisdom is like eyes, I said the other day. The Buddha Shakyamuni said, all the paramatas, or five paramatas are like blind if there is no wisdoms. But when wisdom comes, it gives eyes to every paramatas. Then really it will enter to their final journeys, final destination, bring the fulfillment to all the practitioners. When wisdom comes with all the paramatas. So therefore it is so powerful and so spacious. And for that reason, this wisdom is what we are going to discuss today. As great masters and the Buddhas are taught and lay out, follow that footstep as much as we can according to our capabilities. Or at least we highlight it and have the root of those principal meanings, at least that. So therefore, again, so that is now wisdoms. Now, wisdom is again, there's many different ways to explaining of the wisdoms. Those are in the teaching mentioned, wisdom, the wisdom of the relative truths, wisdom of the absolute truths, wisdom that is going to benefit for all living beings, those are again like kind of one way to make the divisions of the wisdoms. So as what I said before, last time I said the meaning of word meaning of the wisdoms and the benefit of the wisdoms, and then distinctions or the division of the wisdoms. Those among those two divisions, today we are talking the divisions of the wisdoms. Division of the wisdoms. And now these wisdoms, so if we divisions in the divided into, if we say kind of summarized into three categories. The related truth, the wisdoms, absolute truth, the wisdoms, and wisdom that are going to help with the other beings. Or in some teachings, also I mean according to the teaching, wisdom, the worldly wisdoms, and wisdom of the beyond the world wisdoms, and through that benefiting wisdom through that wisdom that will benefiting to the others. And the most powerful ones in the teaching mentioned then these ways. And wisdom that comes from the studying, wisdom that comes from the contemplations, wisdom that comes from the meditations. So I'm going to follow with these three. So that means studying, contemplating, and meditation or the practices. Those three wisdoms. In that three wisdoms, I think also can summarize all the others, what we meant divisions. And in this way, again, wisdom, every wisdom also is wisdom. The six paramata, as I said the other day, can be summarized into two categories. And those are the skillful means and the wisdoms. And that all the, for example, five paramatas, or maybe let's say, first three paramata is skillful means practices. And the last two paramata is wisdom practices, or wisdoms. So skillful means and wisdoms. That is that. And the fourth one, that means the joyful effort, virtues paramata is support to all the other paramata practices. That is one way to explain. And some great masters' teachings mentioned that, for example, four paramatas are the skillful means practices. That means what? What are those four? Now I say first I say the three, now I say the four. How that is? That is the generous paramata, morality paramata, patient paramata, and the dhyan paramata is the skillful means practices. And the sixth one, wisdom, is the wisdom paramatas. The joyful effort is supported to all. And why this dhyan paramata is in a skillful means? Generally, dhyan paramata, we divide it, or not we, in the teaching divided in three. General dhyan concentrations, regular worldly concentrations, and distinctly understanding concentrations, and concentration that will please in the Buddhas. Three. So that means the first two are more consumption levels. That concentration is more consumptions. More thought, more consumption. Therefore, it included also in a skillful means. It is like best. That. And then wisdom is the wisdom. Skillful means and wisdoms. Again, these six paramata can be summarized another way. Not summarized is another, it has another purpose, another purpose. And which is, in order to reach enlightenment or become the Buddha, we need accumulating the true merit. True merit is so important, is crucial. Because true merit will defeat two obscurations or purify the two obscurations. It will purify. And we all heard true merit and two obscurations many times. We heard. Even we started, many of you know clearly those terminology and the meanings. So, these 6 paramata is also, when we practice, we are accumulating the two merits. Two merit. And the first merit is known as accumulation merits. Sonam Jetso in Tibet. Sonam Jetso. Second merit is known as in Tibet, Yeshe Jetso. Yeshe Jetso. That is wisdom merits. So these first 3 or 4 paramatas are accumulation merits. Accumulation merit. Sonam Jetso. Sometimes say Namje Sonam Jetso. Namje Sonam Jetso in the Tibetan world. Those people who are familiar with the Tibetan words, Namje Sonam Jetso or Sonam Jetso. What means Namje in Tibetan? Now I add another more. Namje means something that you can hold, you can think, you can perceive. Perceive. Merit that can be perceived and can hold. Or something that you can feel I'm doing with the subject and object and actions. That means. That merit are then the generosity merit, morality merit, and passion merit, and then part of the concentration merit, maybe if I say that way. Merit. That. Of course, they all again combine two merit and two skillful means of wisdom. They all have, everyone has had that, but we're talking principles. So first 4 paramatas principally representing the accumulation merits. And also it is purifying the 2 obscurations. Among the 2 obscurations, it will purify obscurations of the emotion obscurations. It purifies, it helps, or it is decreasing some degree. And the second merit is the wisdom merit. Wisdom is then the 6th paramata. That purifies then both obscurations. What? Both obscurations, emotion obscurations, and knowledge obscurations. In Tibet, New Mungpa Dripa, Shivja Dripa. I'm translating emotion obscurations, knowledge obscurations. 8 well purified, both obscurations, with the support of skillful means of the merits. Skillful means is like supporters. It is addition, helpers. Help. As much as we gear up the accumulation merit, that will, again in the teachings, it will develop more wisdom merits. It really will come. Therefore, true merit goes by side, or skillful means and wisdom goes side by side, as in using the examples in the teaching as 2 wings of the birds to fly in the sky. One wings cannot fly in the sky. Same way, 2 feet will walk and pass the distance. One leg will not go very well to passing the distance. Therefore, the skillful means, wisdoms, or skillful means of the accumulation merit, wisdoms of the wisdom merit, both are so important. So now that true wisdom, whether it is wisdom, whether it is wisdom and skillful means, whether it is merit, it can summarize. Also, it is like wisdom that comes from the studying, wisdom that comes from the contemplation, wisdom that comes from the meditation. It also within that as two merit, it is both skillful means and wisdoms. Wisdoms. How that is? According to the teaching, first two is accumulation merits. That means studying and contemplating has accumulation, it is representing more. Is representing more accumulation merits. And then the wisdom, last one, is representing mainly wisdom merits. So this is a kind of general understanding, overview of the wisdom paramatas, or these three wisdoms. Now I go a little bit over these three wisdoms. Wisdom that studying, contemplating, and practices. And the practice is in Tibet verse, Tupa, Samba, and Gomba. And then Tupa Shira, Samba Shira, Gomba Shira. And that means that wisdom comes from the studying, wisdom that comes from the contemplating, contemplating, and wisdom that comes from meditation or practices. So that is now the three. So now I go over these wisdom or the person studying. Now studying, that generally studying all this means knowledge. You're learning knowledge. Again, knowledge is so important in the teaching said. It's not just a teaching said we believe in. It's truly true. Knowledge is in the teaching said is like supreme light. Knowledge is supreme light or lamp. L-A-M-P. Supreme lamp that will dispel the darknesses. It's supreme lamp or supreme light now maybe. Supreme light. Knowledge is supreme treasures. It will grant you all the wishes. It will purify or remove the poverties. It's like wish-fulfilling jewel. It will grant you all the wishes. Knowledge is. And knowledge is a supreme like friend. Your friends. Whenever we are difficult troubles, well help is support. Knowledge will support us. Support us. And knowledge is great treasure, safe treasures. Safe treasures, like saved in a safe deposit. You're never going to worry is going to lost it or robbed by someone. Once you have knowledge, it's forever. That knowledge is. And knowledge is so powerful too. It's supreme powerful, like warriors. It will defeat the obstacles. Therefore, in the teaching said, all the noble ones gather up the knowledge. You should gather knowledge. It means study, learn, develop. Once you learned, when you know and learn, you don't have to worry. Going to lost it and robbed by someone as we discussed. You don't have to worry. If in the material world, wealth, we worried, decreased, lost it, robbed. Many animals come to robbed, invited by the material wealth. But knowledge, wealth, is so unique. And it's so simple, so easy. It's right with you. All the time. It will do everything to you, whatever you need. It's one treasure that will support you all the time. In the samsara, in the nirvanas. It's not just one way only. It's really everywhere it will help. For that reason, in the teaching often mentioned, learn knowledge. Don't feel tired Don't think enough is enough. Never say enough to learn the knowledge. Good. Something is good for you and good for others. In the teaching said, even you're going to die tomorrow, you know that you're going to die tomorrow, but still learn, gain the knowledge. You're creating that beautiful imprint in our subconscious in the storehouse, that when you come born back, it is like coming reappearing, as like that some. So you, if some your treasure, if you kept somebody else, ask, please keep that for me. When I need, I like to come to collect. Same way, even you learn that day before we're going to die, it will stay with our subconscious in the star. Next life, it will come back when you need it. Easily will catch up with that. So it is so special, so important. Knowledge is according to teaching. It's true. It's always that. So therefore, this starting is so important. So starting means now what? Starting I'm going to say, starting the worldly knowledge and then beyond the world. Worldly knowledge of that what? In the teaching said, according to the Buddhism or ancient teaching, the four sciences. Knowledge of the healings, knowledge of the art, knowledge of the logics, knowledge of the languages. Those are the four knowledges. Rukwe Nechi Ye in Tibet said, Rukwe Nechi Ye. Those are knowledge of healing is like for all the healing aspects. Whatever you can learn, modern healing, ancient way to healing, and then Tibet those medicine texts and the portenters and there's so many really teachings, and then each different country has that. There is so many ancient knowledges with the grandparents has those all is healing knowledges. Healing, it heals. It's physically healed, mainly is physical healing, and then it also is mentally helping support too. So that is all healing knowledge. And art, knowledge of art is all the geometries, all the mathematics, and so forth, the dramas, theaters, performance, and all those. In the Tibetan teaching or in the Buddhist teaching, it said the art of the mind, art of the voice, art of the physicals. In the teaching, so there's so many arts and all the tunes and all those are art. And those are the knowledge of the arts. And the knowledge of the languages. And many times in the teaching time, those all the different languages. Particularly in the Tibetan in ancient time, talking about the Sanskrit language is very profound and very deep each of them. And modern time, such as Latin languages, Greek languages. Although ancient, all the languages, they are different way how to put things and their meanings precisely. All those are known as language. They are related with the language, and then is poetry, all those things also known as and synonyms. All those are art of the languages. And then the science of the logics and the reasons. That means again investigating, analyzing, exactly contemplating of this. Of the things, of the subject and objects, and really kind of like bring sharpness of their qualities, of what we learned. Exactly that, without contradicting and seeing things, exactly with things. Those are the like really about the knowledge of the logic and the reasons. Those are known as the whole knowledges of the worldly knowledges. And that is, those are starting those things, is like four, and what's called, and worldly knowledges. And then in the world, beyond the world knowledges, is the knowledge of the mind. Sometimes, Nandum Denu Rupa in the Tibetan is. That means mainly Buddha teachings, always the Buddha teaching. Starting of the Vinayas, starting of the Sutra, starting of Abhidhamma, related with the subject of all those teachings in discussing that, and the subject, those are written by the great masters, commentaries on great masters such as Nagarjuna, Asangas of it in India, and the sixth ornament of the world, Basu, What are those 6 ornaments? I think Nagarjuna and Arya Deva, and so this is the 2. And then Asenga and Vasubendus are 2. Those are 4 great scholars. And then there was another 2 known as the master of the Dingnaka and master of the Dharma Kirti. These 2. Those are, in mostly Tibetan literature, so always mentioned 6 great scholars of the ancient, the Buddhist philosophers. And now these days, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is mentioning those are the Nalanda great masters. It's as he said, true, they all, everything, they all come from Nalanda monastery universities. So, therefore, great master of the Nalanda's monastery, but all the Indians, those great master, those are 6. Above that, Arya Devas, great master Chandaraja, Kamala Chelas, I mean, there's so many Chandrakirtis and Chandra Gomis, those all known as like Indian great masters, so many great masters. They wrote commentaries on the teachings, such as commentaries on the profounder teaching of the Buddha Shakyamuni, commentaries on the vastness teachings of the Buddha Shakyamuni, and they wrote so many commentaries, so many great, like there's just a beacon of the Buddha teachings, or the banners of the Buddha teachings, the all teaching, which is translated into Tibet, known as the Tenjo, that many of you know. In Tibet, there's so many great masters in the early time. There are those 25 disciples from Guru Padma Samye, all great masters and great like enlightened beings at the same time. They're great scholars, wrote so many commentaries and so many translated that. And then later, there's so many great masters also came in Tibet, one after another, all the schools of Tibetan Buddhism. All those are great masters, Khenpas, great masters, Sajja Panditas, great master Tsongkhapa, and so forth. Really, so many great masters came. And also Indian great master who visited Tibet as the Guru Padma Samye, Acharya Master Chandarakita, and Atishas. All those teachings are known as commentaries on the Buddha teaching because they exactly explore the meaning of the Buddha's teaching as Buddha taught. Why everyone is following Buddha's? Because the Buddha's teaching is so accurate, so precise, so simple, so directed. It's not ups and downs and all this. Nothing really there is leaves, kind of put on the covers up there. Exactly direct teachings. That. And also it's just really teachings that when you listen in the beginning time, it is soothing and calming. When you contemplate on these teachings, then you understand the flower, the meaning of the teachings. When you begin to practice and meditate on this, it gains the result as is mentioned in the teachings. Therefore, it has nothing contradicting. It's not just a believing, not presuming, not just a thinking, oh, it is. These are not naive teachings. It is accurate, simple, direct, plain, where things are teachings on that. So therefore, everyone follows the Buddha teachings. All that. Because of that, they gain that great wisdom and realizations. They not just become the wise scholars, but their heart is filled with love, kindness, compassion, humble, simple, drawn to the earth. That every goodness quality to be explained or we could tell in a human world, really they has all that. Drawn to the earth, humble, simple, respectful, politeness, caring and concerning, beautiful beings, simple beings, humble beings. Truly they are, really that. And then all those great masters in the Tibetans. Those are, in the intellectual level, they're genius. They read books and once in time, then they understood. Their memory is a photograph of memories. But yet, so humble, so simple, so casual, so down to the earth, with full of common sense, full of really humble, simple, and mingle with everyone. because their heart is filled with love. Bodhicitta, simply talking, bodhicitta. That's what all is following these teachings. So those are what you study. What you study. Then when you study the teaching, and of course in the teaching open mention, that in such as words of my perfect teacher, explaining so clearly and so beautifully, avoid the mistakes of the listenings when you study. Those are the like what? The errors of the three errors. Three errors. And such as, and when you're in the teaching, while you're listening, or when you're in the practicing or the teaching, receiving the teaching, you have to be attentively listening. Listening the teachings. If you don't listen, your ear is not listening, looks like the pot is upside down. Pot is upside down. No matter how much water comes on that, it won't hold anything. Just it goes. So that is errors. Use the examples. Errors of the ears upside down of the pot. That is one of the errors. Second errors. When you receive the teaching, even you're listening, but you have to maintain, keep that what you learned in heart and mind. If you don't keep that with mindfulness, then it is known as the even pot is up on like kind of normal way and receive the water. But if it is whole underneath, water won't stay. It just goes away. Same way is the Yila Manzi Shabdar Tavi Chung in Tibet said. Means the pot that has a hole goes water, so if you don't hold, then even you receive the teaching, you didn't catch anything. It just really goes away. Then now, the pot is not upside down, pot has no hole, and perfect. But while you're listening to the teaching, don't listen teaching with emotions. Emotions. What that means? How many emotions we have? We have three principal emotions. Attachment, anger, jealous, or any other kind of combination emotions. If we listen to teaching with that, then what in the teaching said? It's errors. Errors must the teaching, you're mixing nectar with poison. Even if the teaching is like nectar, but then we mix the poison, then it's really not good quality of that. You mixed. So therefore, free from the three errors. Three mistakes of three errors of the containers. Then in the words of perfect teacher, says so clearly, precisely, I won't really repeat all those. What are they? Those are known as then 6 stains. 6 stains. 6 stains. And those are, as I've said, first it's arrogance. Second is kind of like not concentrated or you're not devoted. And you're not really interested. Even you're on the teachings, you're not so interested. And then the fourth one is, even you're in the teaching, your mind is wandering to all the object of 5 senses. Everywhere, all the wanderings. And then you're so much kind of like dullness, just sleeping on the teachings. That is one of the strains. And then you're kind of like bored and tired, or the teaching is just boring, or I'm not kind of interested, it's just the same thing, or is this too long, or too short, and making comment. Instead, really observing the knowledge and wisdom to the heart and with joy and appreciation, making comments on that. Those are all known as errors, stains of the listening knowledges, starting knowledges. Avoid that. Then there is 5 not holding, keeping, to maintaining 5. I'm not going to list those. That you look that you are interested in that. Avoiding all those things, really 4 attitudes you should have. What in the teaching said that I use in the Dungpo Kopam Do. Again in the words of my perfect teacher, says clearly in the Dungpo Kopa Sutras. And the Buddha says, you should think, you should have the attitude, the teacher is the doctor. Doctor's attitude. You think yourself as a patient. Teaching is you receiving the medicines, prescription, pills, instructions. And the practice is you're applying the medicine to yourself. So it will cure the disease. Those are the four intentions, four attitudes. You should really keep this. In the Buddha teaching, actually, is really what even Buddha Shakyamuni, when he is researching the teachings, even just 4 lines of the words, 4 lines of the words of the wisdoms, he spent so much effort. And when Buddha was as like Bodhisattva, before he got enlightenment, really there's so many beautiful stories. Buddha spent so much effort, even sometimes his own life spent to gain the wisdom, to receive the teachings. Teaching is so important. It's knowledge, it's wisdom. As I mentioned earlier, the treasure, it's treasure. Knowledge should be honored, cherished. Feel is rare. Feel is so precious. Feel is so good. Happy with that. Receiving the teaching, absorbing the teaching. Teaching. That is what is really known as learning the knowledge. Learning the knowledge of studying. Studying. So you're now learning. That is studying. Now when you really learn that, when you receive that teaching from the teacher, or when you read the books, when you know something, now you have to think that meaning. You have to think of the word meaning. Think of the meanings itself. Think of the meaning of the one verse. What is explaining that? And what is direct immediate? What is indirect meaning? What is direct meanings? Kind of thinking of, absorbing that. Reflecting mind was to that word and the meanings. Again and again. Kind of make more familiar to yourself. That is known as wisdom that comes from the studies. First it is studying. First it is your learning. But then now you gain something from that. You learn something tangible. You know the meaning, what it is playing. Someday you know that. That is the knowledge of the learning or studying. Tupashira. As I said earlier, Tupa and Tupashira. Tupa means in Tibet studying. Wisdom means, Tupashira means wisdom that comes from the studies. So now you started, but also you got some wisdoms. That is foundation. Foundation of the gain the higher and the deeper wisdoms, such as wisdom of the contemplations, wisdom of the meditations. So now first is studies. That is so important. That. And then particularly this time, what Great Master Padma Samye said in teaching, that at least you should start what you're going to practice. What you're going to practice. You should learn that. You should know that and make familiar that. That is something, new knowledge, new wisdom is now shining in your mind of the alliance. So that is my brief talk for today. And thank you very much again for participating. Really, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Rashideles. Again, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And then tomorrow we talk, what's called this, the wisdom that comes from the contemplation, and the wisdom that comes from also maybe meditation and practice. So we see how we can really do that. Okay, thank you, everyone. Again, participate. now we do the healing practice, right? Healing practice.